Consider this a public service announcement. This little machine right here will absolutely ruin your day because it just took a shot. And did you see? One landed there. And there's 4 more flying through the air. Let's see the impact. Yep. And it does leave these little burning explosions on the ground, which do continue to deal damage. Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to Khorne vs. High Elves. Today we're taking a look at the Hell-Forged Bellower's Skull Cannon Regiment of Renown. Basically enables Khorne to just play completely differently because it's insanely powerful. Some of you remember Iron Blasters? The ogres on the release of Warhammer 3. This is probably in a similar ballpark, honestly. Yeah, let's take a look at the build here. Skull Taker, well, we haven't looked at him yet. I don't think in a replay. Maybe we have. I don't know the order of these when they're coming out. Anyway, Skull Taker's great. Stats are amazing for like a horse combat lord, right? He has an unyielding assault, so his melee attack can't be reduced. He's got Hellblade passively. Bloody Onslaught I chose to take here. It's the only ability I've bought. Just because, yeah, it's a nice single target debuff, and then his stats are just amazing for how cheap he is. I think he also gets immunity to flanking from one of his items. I chose not to take that here, but yeah, massive melee attack, weapon strength, charge bonus, 120 armor. Not the most HP in the world, especially for how much he does cost, but synergizes perfectly with somebody like Karnak, which I brought here. He's got, of course, his summon, his snare, and his silence. Insanely competitive legendary hero. And then the rest of the build is basically all mobility plus the 2 new most elite infantry. You've got the Bloodwake Berserkers, the Slaughter Guard, and then a bunch of Furies and Hounds. Yeah, regular Chaos Warhounds of Khorne. And basically my goal against this High Elf army here, which consisting of Star Dragon, bunch of Spears, he's got Lothern Sea Guard, Illyrian Reavers, Teclis, some Reaver Archers, so, you know, High Elf army, pretty standard stuff. Giamma here, gonna do his best to try and withstand, but basically my whole idea here is, okay, this is Conquest, I'm gonna move up, cap the objective, and then play it kind of a kite game, right? I don't actually have any Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, and maybe it would have been good to actually include some in this build to give me even more kiting power, but I figured, let's really just put this Hell-Forged Bellowers through its paces and see if it can kind of carry a build like this to a degree. Deal enough damage to force the High Elves to attack, and then be able to sort of pick them apart. Again, keep in mind, this is with one shot hitting the ground in a lot of instances. It's coming in here and doing, yeah, like 40% HP damage in one volley to a unit of High Elf spears. Yeah, and imagine if those were something more expensive, like, you know, Swordmasters or Phoenix Guard, right? How much more value it would be getting, even in that instance. Just... yeah, it's going to go on like this for some time. And the other thing about the Skull Cannon is, of course, it can replenish its ammo by fighting in melee. So once I've exhausted this resource, I can always just charge in and start to get some melee fun going. Especially with this sort of block of infantry that is basically untouchable by anything he has in melee. He's going to have to use the Star Dragon breath attacks, really, to do effective damage to them. Maybe he's got some Flock of Doom here as well, but of course... Khorne units have some magic resistance. He didn't even bring Flock of Doom. Okay, so, yeah. We're going to continue firing, just kind of broadcasting damage across various units, trying to get maximum impacts. But right now, the Hell-Forged Bellower is already over 100 kills. We've been sort of skirmishing here for about 2 minutes. And Giamma, you know, just kind of hanging back for now. We were both curious to see just how effective this would actually be. I mean, if this were, you know, competitive tournament game, I'd imagine he'd already have charged in by now. But even then, like, someone else I was showing this replay to recently made the comment that, like, you can almost kite with Khorne because you're so scary to engage in melee, but then this Skull Cannon gives you a tool to actually, like, do enough damage at range that you don't want to just stay out and back and, you know, get shot either, right? So it really puts a lot of factions into a blender, and again, for a playstyle perspective of Khorne, really changes how you can play, which is cool, but problematic, I would say. Yeah, should Khorne be able to play like this effectively? It's probably a discussion for other people to have, but I just wanted to let you know that this is possible because we tried it, and, well, this is the result. The best part about this is now, again, I can fight in melee to replenish some ammo, and not only that, but I can also kind of fire in melee too. Check this out. So I'm going to replenish a little bit of ammo here and then just try it out, you know, just for science. Let's issue a shoot order and see if it shoots while in melee. Okay, so he's turning around, What are we shooting at? I don't actually remember. There we go. Point blank shotgun blast just wrecks a bunch more Lothern Sea Guard. Khorne follows up with a quick charge. The Wrathmongers looking absolutely spectacular. They're just going to continue just walking through. I mean, absolutely shredding whatever they come into contact with. And yeah, they will just continue on like this for some time. The great thing for me is that Skulltaker plus Khorne means, you know, as long as I keep Khorne near the Star Dragon, he actually can't use his breaths. And just in general, it'll be harder for it to use them effectively, rather the breaths, because of Khorne's presence. Of course, I can also use the snare. If the Star Dragon comes to the ground, I can try and lock it down, and then 2v1 with Khorne and Skulltaker, which is going to be very scary. He does manage to find an angle here, and does get a pretty solid breath attack on the side of the Solder Guard. Does some decent damage, but of course, with my army being so thin in terms of numbers, it's nice to have a summon, bring up those Flesh Hounds, start to support the Skull Cannon. You can see it's regenerated a little bit more ammo there. I think it actually literally just shot like directly the ground in front of it as well. I don't know, a little bit of interesting behaviors. Let's try and keep an eye on that as the rest of these units fight. Slaughter Guard just kind of chilling for the time being, letting the Wrathmongers do their thing. Let's see, Star Dragon. I pop that Bloody Onslaught as soon as he comes down to the ground. And here we go. Khorne, Skulltaker together, as it should be. Khorne also synergizes very well with Arbol. Basically, any of the horse characters for Khorne, which the two legendary horse characters now are both quite strong and great with Khorne. He uses his snare there, you know, allows Khorne, or Skulltaker even, to get in. Some pretty good damage. And again, this is the thing, like, you can't engage Khorne in melee, right? Because they're just so scary. And you don't want to sit back and just get shot by them either. At this point, some of my support units are starting to run a little bit thin, it must be said. I've still got a handful of Furies and Hounds hanging around. Like that Fury over on the far side is pretty much done for, so not completely hopeless for the High Elves, except that poor Teclis just got snared and is very, very dead. This is the most dead that Teclis has ever been. Yeah, he just gets completely deleted, and Skulltaker and Khorne move on once again. The Star Dragon does come down and manages to get some good hits on the Hell-Forged Bellowers, so this is one possible way to try and combat it, but I honestly wouldn't get surprised if this thing gets banned in tournament rule sets, given how strong it is. At the same time, it is cool, just from a, you know, variety perspective, for Khorne. Oh my god, straight down the line. That just absolutely wrecks that Spearman. Yeah, it's cool for Khorne to get something, you know, that gives them a different kind of play style, right? Is that loreful? Is it, you know, intended? Hard to say. Definitely a very cool unit, and I love it in many ways, but I definitely think it's too strong. I would say the few ways you could nerf this without it really becoming overly useless. The biggest one is just to have a greater spread on the projectiles so that it's a little bit less accurate, like maybe, you know, 2, 3 out of the 5 projectiles hit, or 6 or whatever it shoots. But yeah, 336 kills. We're looking like 2,600 damage value, maybe a little bit more, all said and done. Let's see. Oh, shoots 5 projectiles. Okay, so yeah, maybe just make those spread a little bit more so they're not all hitting quite as accurately. That'd be a pretty easy way to kind of bring it into balance. Again, I don't want this thing to be useless. I think it's super cool, and I want to use it more. That was a very fun game for me. I can't imagine it was super fun for Giamma, though. And yeah, I mean, it's basically hard carrying the build here. The Furies do definitely help. Khorne Furies are amazing. And the 2 Elite Infantry, although they don't get an insane amount of value in and of themselves, just, again, the threat of them, like if you bring the High Elves tools that are actually going to effectively deal with these elite infantry, they're likely just going to get killed by the, you know, whatever other tools I can bring, whether it be these powerful single entities that can be very mobile on the ground and kind of protect, or this artillery that's also, again, very mobile. yeah, just overall seems really nasty. Giamma here, unfortunately, not a single unit in his build is going to pay for itself. And that does happen from time to time. I've definitely got a few of those. You know, not any kind of reflection of his skill, it should be said, but just more so a reflection of, I think, how strong this Hellforged Bellows is, especially against factions which tend to field a lot of tightly packed infantry, like, you know, High Elves, Dark Elves, Empire, and so on. It's going to be very, very good. And just in general, I mean, in most games I've seen it in, it's nasty. So, be warned, this is a thing that can happen, especially if you're playing ladder after the DLC comes out. You're probably going to get roasted by this thing a couple times, or maybe you'll be the one roasting with it. I won't judge you too hard. Anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.